Hi again, everyone. So Congress just passed this big, beautiful bill that's supposed to change healthcare and student loans in America. But what does that actually mean for someone like me? I'm 41, early retired, living in Tulsa, with most of my money in index funds, over $300,000 in student loans, and just approved from Medicaid. So I looked through what I could find on the internet and just kind of looked at my circumstances, focusing on just the three key areas: Medicaid, student loans, and my overall financial profile. I'm just kind of going through my notes, kind of talking out loud and sharing what I know. Happy to hear other people's thoughts as well. I don't follow the news much, so I'm just kind of piecing together from the lens of someone just living their best fire life. So, all right, first thing is Medicaid. Like I said, I just got approved for Medicaid August 1. And what I understand and how it affects me is that under the new big beautiful bill, there will be a work or work equivalent requirement. So people that are adults over 18 have to report work for at least 80 hours per month, and that has to be either work, volunteer activity, or schooling, verified by the state every 6 months. For example, right now I'm approved for 12 months starting from August 1, 2025 to, I believe, July 31st, 2026. And I wasn't told of any kind of mandated requirement. I think they do have the right to ask for proof, but there wasn't anything that said I necessarily had to work or volunteer. So that's new to me. It looks like the bill will also require more frequent eligibility checks. So the states must now conduct checks every 6 months instead of annually. Like I said, I think I was only supposed to be assessed annually, but now it looks like it'll be every 6 months. So overall, what this means for me, the changes, I guess, already started August 1, so I could be subject to them at any time as far as the regularly reporting either work or equivalent criteria to keep my Medicaid coverage. So at first I thought, well, I'll just plan to use it until the end of 2025 and then just go try to get back on Marketplace for 2026. But I think when I read more, even though the bill was passed in the summer, the Medicaid work requirements don't start until January 1, 2027. So that potentially means I can maintain my Medicaid without having to show proof of work for all of 2026, which is amazing. It does say that the states can opt to begin earlier than that January 1 deadline, but I guess I'll just hold on and see. So for now, I'm planning to keep Medicaid until 2026 and plan to use or transition to Marketplace for 2027, which falls in line with my burnout recovery that I'm doing for the first 18 months after fire. Other notes I have on the reporting requirements, like I said, it's 80 hours per month. So I thought about that, like, do I want to go back to work? Do I want to volunteer? And the answer is no. I mean, I volunteered my first year in Tulsa and it was great, but yeah, I don't want to be required to do any of those things to keep insurance. I'm happy to pay the nominal fee in Marketplace to have my freedom back. The other thing that was of concern to me was the student loans. Yes, I do still have student loans, and it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars to get my pharmacy degree. And I also went to Stanford, and that was pretty expensive, but worth it. It was something I always wanted, and it was exactly what I paid for. So I don't regret that decision at all. The thing with that and why I've chosen to keep the student loan is because of the income-driven repayment plan. My income, when I started my fire journey, I knew was always going to be low. So this definitely puts a wrench in that plan. Right now, my loans are in administrative forbearance by the government because they're still trying to figure out the student loan debt crisis. So I've benefited from that. I haven't really had to pay anything since COVID, so that's about 4 years. So for me, it was the right choice. I know some people can't sleep at night if they have loans hanging over their head. I have no problem sleeping at night because financially it just made sense to do the income plan and have it forgiven after the 20 years because I anticipated my income was going to be a lot lower after I stopped working. And so far that has been the case. But with this new legislation, it looks like income-driven repayment plans are going to be phased out over the next couple of years, which is going to be interesting. But I'm still looking on the bright side. I still don't regret my decision to keep my loans because for me, that's still 26, 27, 28. That's still 3 more years that I'll be on income, potentially 3 more years that I'll be on income-driven plans. So that's still going to keep it at a low cost. For context, I think standard repayment had me paying over $2,000 a month, and I think the most I've ever paid on income driven is about $600 a month. To me, that's worth it. And with having no income or low income over the course of my early retirement, I still think it'll be very manageable. But yeah, so my notes on this show that starting July 1, borrowers can only choose the standard fixed payment plan. So for me, for example, when I graduated, like I said, that was like $2,000, $2,500 a month, or the repayment assistance, which I feel is closer to, they may be calling it repayment assistance, but this still feels very income based because it's a percentage of your income. So I don't know why the change in terminology is. And that's over 30 years, where I believe the income-driven plans were over 20 or 25 years. I'm curious, though, if that restarts that. So, for example, if I started my IDR plan 5 years ago, so I would only have, say, 20 years left. If I start on the repayment assistance plan, does that restart the clock at 30 years? I guess we'll find out. Or if anybody knows, feel free to post it on the comments page. So I initially was concerned, but now that I would be concerned if it were the standard fixed payment plan as the only option. The fact that there is a repayment assistance plan assuages that concern because it still would be just 10% of whatever my adjusted gross income would be. Making no income and living off of savings and investments, I should be able to get that to a manageable level. So I feel highly confident about those numbers. There's nothing that I could do to make it the standard plan, so I'm happy with that. Implications for my situation, what I highlighted here is the interest accruing. That doesn't bother me. I know, hot take, controversial opinion, but I'm okay with it. It looks like I'm gonna hope for 2028, since I'm not a new borrower, that by 2028 that will be the time I'll have to choose the repayment assistance plan. But it looks like from now until mid-2026, the student loans will still be in administrative forbearance, which makes my payment to continue to be zero. I'm happy about that. So those are the two main areas I was concerned with. I started seeing the big beautiful bill in different forums, just kind of lightly talked about, and I just kind of glossed over it. So I just thought today, a Friday night when everybody else is probably out, but these are the things I enjoy, just look to see, initial thoughts on how it might impact my current situation. So overall, I don't feel like my retirement is threatened in any way, at least financially. My summary table showed that as far as Medicaid, the changes are just the 80 hours a month work reporting. And remember, work can be volunteer work as well, or school. So that equates to about 20 hours. That's too much volunteering for me, 20 hours a week. I'm not doing that. So like I said, when that change becomes implemented, I'll be happy to look for a marketplace plan, because I never even thought I'd be eligible for Medicaid, so that was a bonus. So I'm not too worked up about that. The student loans, it looks like I have potentially from 2026 to 2028 to figure that out, and it looks like there's still an option for the payment to be based on your income. So that concern is also mitigated. So my FIRE plan doesn't seem threatened by that overall. I think overall finances, Some tax liabilities may increase, but I'll have to wait till next year to see for sure. I do think the ability to sort of manipulate your income is one of the strengths of FIRE in terms of like Roth conversions, your capital gains withdrawal strategy, and I have a couple of calculators and spreadsheets that I can use to model that. So far it doesn't look like there will be any major impact to my financial trajectory because of the big beautiful bill. So one of the things I was concerned about when I looked into it was like, is there anything I need to do right now, being someone who doesn't pay attention to the news? It looks like for 2025 and 2026, Medicaid won't really be affected, so that will be untouched. I get to keep the Medicaid without work requirements. 2027 is when potentially those work requirements kick in. As far as the student loans, it looks like if I keep my AGI low, my payment might be like $20, even though my debt is like multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at 71, I'm not going to be that worried about finishing payments. That debt dies with me unless they come after my assets. And since the laws have already changed since I've been in repayment, I don't know, I just don't feel that concerned about it. I don't have anybody that I'm leaving my estate to or anything, so they can do whatever they want. So bottom line, Medicaid doesn't change for me. I think I'll still have the coverage for 2025 and all of 2026. Student loans, it looks like there might be a change in 2026, and then ultimately by 2028, I'll be phased out of the current income-based plan, but it looks like option B with the new bill is another version of an income-based plan, so that worry is also mitigated. So just some notes I write for myself. For 2025, like I said, no new requirements, covered as usual. If I do have to switch to Marketplace for some reason, the subsidies that are currently in effect will stay in effect. Student loans, it looks like administrative forbearance will continue. For 2026, things start to change, not for my Medicaid coverage, if I'm still eligible. And for Marketplace, I never experienced the enhanced subsidies, so that won't affect me in any way. And I think my income will be low enough, my manufactured income will be low enough to qualify for whatever subsidies are available. And I still think it's a blessing, I don't know what you want to call it, fortuitous, that I have access to insurance anyway through Marketplace. So I'm one of those who's happy to take what I can get. I'm not going to get too rung up about the price because the option before Marketplace was probably going to be something really high cost or really terrible. So, and then it looks like for 2026 that maybe when I may have to make a change with my student loan repayment, but like I said, it looks like it's still going to have some sort of income-based component, so that should be fine. And then 2027, we'll worry about that when it gets here. So that's kind of my hot take on these changes, how it's going to directly impact me and my financial situation and overall my life after FIRE with some of these legislation changes. It's something I already knew would be a factor because the laws and how it affects finances in the U.S. is something that's going to change with each administration. So as a new retiree, it's my first time having to encounter it, but I'm happy to share, my learnings from it and the outcomes that impact me because it's other people that have helped me to get this far. So I'm happy to carry that torch onward. Anyways, thanks for being here and listening to my notes and my reflections. I hope you have a good day.
Wait!